It started with a phone call, the sound of my best friend's voice, broken by tears, telling me my other best friend was gone. The police called it an accident, a tragic fall, but she knew the truth. We both did, because the man she was in love with was not just a liar. He was a killer, and he had a dark secret, the dark secret that destroyed my friend. My name is Maya. I am 24 years old. I live in a quiet, unassuming town called Havenwood. My life was simple. It was built on the steady rhythms of a small community, a place where the changing of seasons felt more significant than the news. I worked at the public library. My days were predictable. I cherished that predictability. But the real foundation of my life was the two people who made it home for me, Sarah and Liam. We were a trio, and not a friendship, so tight it felt unbreakable. Sarah was a whirlwind of color and energy. Her laugh was a sound that could chase away any gloom. Liam was her older brother, but he was more than that to me. He was my rock, my sounding board. He was a quiet, observant soul, with a deep love for photography. He saw the world in light and shadow. He captured moments of profound beauty. His future felt as expansive as the landscapes he loved to photograph. Full of promise, full of light. Our favorite spot was the old stone bridge that crossed the creek. We would sit there for hours, talking about everything and nothing. It was our sanctuary. It was where we swore to always be there for one another. It was where we believed we were invincible. Then came David. He arrived in Havenwood about 3 years ago. A man who seemed to have stepped out of a magazine. He was handsome, he was charismatic, and he was impeccably dressed. David was a successful businessman. He said he was looking to escape the city hustle, and he quickly became a fixture in our small town. He had a charm that was impossible to ignore. He made you feel like the most important person he had ever met. He swept Sarah off her feet. Their relationship blossomed at a dizzying pace. I tried to be happy for her. I truly did. But something about David made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. His smile never quite reached his eyes. There was a practiced quality to his charm, a thin veneer over something colder, and more calculating. I felt it, but I could not explain it. Liam felt it too. His distrust was immediate and absolute. He would pull me aside, his voice low and serious. "There is something wrong with him, Maya," Liam said, his brow furrowed with concern. "I do not know what it is, but I can feel it. He is not who he says he is." Sarah, however, saw none of this. She was so completely in love. She dismissed our concerns as jealousy or overprotectiveness. She was blinded by love. I remember one particular evening. We were all at Sarah's house, sitting on the rooftop patio Liam had built for her. The stars were bright against the velvet black sky. Liam was showing me a series of photographs. His voice was soft, his enthusiasm quiet but profound. Suddenly, David arrived. Uninvited, he strode onto the patio, and the atmosphere shifted instantly. The comfortable, easy warmth of our evening evaporated, replaced by a chilling silence. David's presence was a cold blanket. He gave Liam a curt nod, a tight smile that did not touch his eyes. Liam's shoulders tensed. The two men barely spoke to one another that night, but the air between them was thick with palpable animosity. It was a silent battle of wills, a wordless standoff. My heart hammered in my chest, a frantic drumbeat of unease. I felt a chill run down my spine, a certainty that something was terribly wrong. This was not just a personality clash. This was something deeper, something dangerous. But I did not know what. I did not know the danger that loomed. The news came on a Tuesday afternoon. I was shelving a book when my phone rang. It was Sarah. Her voice was unrecognizable. It was a fractured sound, a broken melody of grief and panic. She did not say much, just a single, devastating sentence. "It is Liam. He is gone." The library, a place of peace, suddenly felt loud. The world spun. I dropped the book I was holding and ran. My feet did not feel like my own as I made my way to Sarah's house. I do not remember the drive, just a blur of colors, and a suffocating weight in my chest. When I arrived, the house was already surrounded by police cars. Yellow tape marked off the perimeter. Sarah was in the arms of David. He stood on the porch, his face a mask of practiced concern. He looked distraught, but in my heart, I knew it was a performance. Liam had been found at the base of the cliffs, a spot he loved to photograph. The official report would later state it was a tragic hiking accident. A slip, a fall, the sort of thing that happens to people too close to the edge. The town mourned. They sent flowers and cards. They spoke of Liam's kindness. They said it was a terrible loss. I felt like my world was collapsing. A part of my soul had been ripped away. The stone bridge no longer felt like a sanctuary. It felt like a monument to a past that was now gone forever. I walked around in a fog of grief, a hollow ache in my chest. At the funeral, I watched David comfort Sarah. His arm was around her shoulders as she wept. He looked like a pillar of strength, a grieving boyfriend. But when his eyes met mine across the crowded room, there was something else there. A flicker. Something cold and triumphant. It was gone in an instant, replaced by a sorrowful expression. But I saw it. It was a tiny crack in the mask he wore. A seed of doubt took root in my soul. A week after the funeral, Sarah called me. Her voice was shaky, but there was a new resolve in it, a steely quality I had never heard before. She insisted we meet, just the two of us. When I arrived, she locked the door behind me. Her eyes were red-rimmed and swollen, but they were no longer filled with tears. They were filled with a fierce, cold rage. "Maya," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "The police told me it was an accident. They said he lost his footing, but it was not an accident." "I know it." My blood ran cold. "How do you know?" I asked, my own voice trembling. The night before he died, he called me," she said. Tears welled up in her eyes again. He was so excited, so full of energy. He told me he was going on a sunrise shoot. He said he finally had the proof he needed. He said he found something on David's laptop. He found a dark secret. He said he was going to expose David for the fraud that he is. He was so happy, Maya. He was so relieved to finally have the evidence. The world tilted. The official report. The police. David's face at the funeral. The pieces clicked into place, but they formed a picture of utter horror. "He found something on a hidden part of David's computer," she continued, her voice gaining strength. "He told me he downloaded it all. He put it on some drives. He said he was going to expose him. Liam's death was not an accident. It was murder. And David was responsible." Looking at Sarah's tear-streaked face, I made a promise. To her, to myself, and to Liam. "We will find the truth," I said, my voice firm. "We will expose him." But how? The proof was gone, and we were just two women against a murderer. Grief became our shared mission. We felt isolated and alone. Two people against the wall of a powerful man, and a police force that had already closed the case. Every day was a careful performance. We would mourn Liam publicly, all the while working in secret, our grief a perfect cover for our investigation. Our first step was Liam's apartment. It had been sealed by the police, but Sarah had a key. The air inside was still and heavy, a mausoleum of his life. His books were stacked neatly on a shelf. His camera equipment sat on a desk, a silent reminder of his passion. We moved through the space like ghosts, our fingers tracing over objects that once held his touch. The emotional weight was almost unbearable. Every photograph on his wall, every half-finished cup of coffee. It was a punch to the gut. We searched for days. We looked under mattresses, behind books, in the pockets of his jackets. Nothing. No USB drives. No hidden notes. The evidence he had found was gone. Our hope, a fragile thing, began to dwindle. Then, one evening, as we sat in silence, Sarah's eyes fell upon a small, leather-bound notebook. It was his journal. He had not written in it for years, but the last pages were filled with his familiar, sprawling script. We read the last entry, dated the day before he died. It was not a confession or a warning. It was a note, a cryptic sentence. The secret is hidden where the past meets the future. My mind raced. What did it mean? Where could that be? We stared at the words, our brows furrowed in confusion. The past meets the future. It sounded like a riddle. We were about to give up when Sarah's face suddenly lit up. "The abandoned house," she said. Her voice hushed. I looked at her, confused. "What abandoned house?" "The old Sterling place on the edge of town," she explained. "He called me last month. He was so excited. He said he found the perfect location for his new photography project. He wanted to capture the contrast between decay and new growth. He called it, Where the Past Meets the Future. A shiver of fear and exhilaration ran through me. We had a lead. The police had already dismissed the house. No one would ever think to look there. It was the perfect place for a secret. That very night, under a sky with no moon, we went to the abandoned house. The wind moaned through the broken windows. The old structure seemed to breathe with a sinister life of its own. The air was thick with the smell of dust and decay. Every creak of the floorboards made my heart leap. The house felt like a living thing, a silent witness to a dark history. We moved from room to room, our flashlights cutting through the oppressive darkness. Upstairs, we found the room Liam had been using. It was smaller than the others, with a single window. In the corner, there was a small, locked closet. We pried it open, our hands trembling, but found nothing. My heart sank. Was this a dead end? Just as we were about to leave, Sarah's flashlight caught something. A faint line on the floor, a loose floorboard, slightly darker than the others. With a shared look, we knelt down, and with a great deal of effort, we pried it up. Beneath it was a small, waterproof pouch. My hands shook as I reached inside. I pulled out several USB drives, and a small stack of handwritten notes. Liam's notes. We had found the proof. Our hands trembled. The relief was so profound it was almost painful. But as we held them, the reality of what we had done settled in. We now had what Liam had died for. We had a killer's secret. What hidden truths lay within the drives? And what dangers were we now exposing ourselves to? We drove back to Sarah's house in a stunned silence. The pouch with the USB drive sat between us, like a ticking time bomb. Once inside, we locked the doors. We went to Liam's old computer, the one he had given to Sarah. We put one of the USB drives into the port and watched the screen. My heart hammered in my chest. I felt like I was holding my breath. The drive was filled with folders, each one more shocking than the last. We spent the next 3 days in a state of suspended reality, piecing together the true story of David. He was not just a successful businessman. He was a ruthless criminal. The files were not just incriminating. They were a roadmap to a vast and illicit enterprise. There were emails detailing money laundering, illegal land acquisitions, and a network of corrupt officials. He had bribed them to get his way. He used the town's quiet and trusting nature as a perfect front, a place where no one would ever suspect him. The charm he displayed was a tool, a weapon to manipulate everyone around him. Sarah and I stared at the screen, our faces pale with shock. The man she had loved was a monster. Then we found the file that would change everything. It was a folder with David's name and Liam's initials. Inside was a single, chilling audio file. We pressed play. The sound of the wind was a low howl in the background. Then we heard 2 voices, David's voice and Liam's. "You should have kept your nose out of my business, Liam," David's voice said. "Colder than any ice. You were going to ruin everything." "I cannot let you get away with this, David," Liam's voice said, a mix of fear and defiance. "I am going to the police. I have all the proof." There was a scuffle, a sound of a body being shoved, a sharp cry, and then a sickening thud. The audio went silent, save for the howling wind. My body went numb. I felt Sarah's grip on my arm tighten, her nails digging into my skin. The truth was no longer a theory. It was a cold, cruel fact. David had murdered Liam. The pain of the betrayal was an overwhelming wave. It was not just Liam's death we were avenging now. It was the complete demolition of our trust in the world. Our grief turned into a cold, hard rage. We knew we could not go to the local police. David's connections in Havenwood were too strong. We needed to go outside, to a power he could not touch. We decided to leak the information anonymously to a respected investigative journalist in the city. We created a new email account, a ghost in the machine, and we began to organize the files. We knew David would be looking for the drives. We knew he would be suspicious. He must have seen Liam the day he died. He must have searched for the drives afterwards. We were now the last remaining pieces of evidence. We were in grave danger. The process of preparing the leak was a frantic race against the clock. We painstakingly copied and organized the files. We created a digital trail that led directly to David's crimes. We wrote a message, short and to the point, detailing the murder and the evidence we had found. My fingers trembled as I typed. Every moment felt like a risk. We had one more thing to do. The town would need to know the truth. They had to know what kind of man they had welcomed. We found a folder on one of the drives. It contained a list of all of David's local investments and the names of the people he had bribed. It was a list of corrupt officials and innocent people he had taken advantage of. The full scope of his evil was staggering. We knew we had to expose it all. Just as we were about to send the final email, a sound from the living room made us freeze. A soft click of a door handle. We looked at each other, our eyes wide with terror. Someone was in the house. Our hearts hammered in our chests. A frantic, deafening drumbeat. We had been so careful. We had locked all the doors, but we had not accounted for his key. David was in the house. He was standing in the archway of the living room, his face a mask of disappointment and quiet fury. The charming smile was gone. His eyes, cold and hard, fixed on us. "I was wondering where you were," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "I thought you were in deep mourning, but it seems you have been busy." Panic seized me. I wanted to run, but where could we go? We were cornered. I looked at Sarah, and in her eyes I saw the same fear, but also a flicker of something else. Defiance. She was not going to let him win. Not now. Not after everything. I knew we had one chance. The email was composed. The attachments were ready. I needed to send it. Now. David took a step toward us. "Where is it, Maya? Where is the drive? I know Liam would have told you. Give it to me now, and perhaps we can forget this ever happened." I knew he was lying. He was a killer. I grabbed the laptop and held it close, my hands shaking. "We already know, David," Sarah said, her voice surprisingly steady. "We know what you did to Liam. We have the proof." A cold, mirthless laugh escaped his lips. "You have nothing," he said, taking another step. "Just a few drives with some nonsense. No one will believe you. Liam was an amateur. No one will believe a couple of grieving girls." I looked down at the laptop screen. My hand hovered over the send button. My heart was in my throat. I knew this was a gamble. What if the email did not go through? What if he reached us before the signal could be sent? "You are wrong, David," I said, my voice shaking with a newfound courage. "The world will believe us." With a final, desperate burst of defiance, I hit the send button. The email was gone. A message of truth sent into the digital ether. David's eyes widened as he saw the flicker on the screen. He lunged forward, a snarl on his face, but it was too late. He was a split second too slow. In the ensuing chaos, Sarah grabbed her phone and dialed the emergency services. The police arrived within minutes. Drawn by the sounds of the struggle, David, in a desperate attempt to escape, was apprehended, right outside Sarah's front door. The days that followed were a blur. The investigative journalist we had sent the email to immediately responded, and the story exploded. David's face was on every news channel, his web of lies and corruption unraveling for the world to see. Liam's name was finally cleared, his courage celebrated. The town of Havenwood was in shock. The man they had admired was a murderer and a criminal. The trial was long and arduous, a testament to the depths of David's deceit. Sarah and I attended every day. A silent presence, our grief a quiet force in the courtroom. We listened as the evidence mounted. The emails, the files, the chilling audio recording of Liam's final moments. Our testimonies were the final nails in his coffin. Finally, the jury delivered their verdict. Guilty on all counts. A wave of relief, so profound it was almost overwhelming, washed over me. Sarah and I held each other, tears streaming down our faces. It did not bring Liam back. Nothing ever would. But it was justice. The man who had taken his life would spend the rest of his own in prison. The dark secret that destroyed my friend had also revealed a strength within us that we never knew we possessed. It taught us that justice, though sometimes a long and painful journey, is an unwavering force. The truth, like a seed, will always find its way to the light. Liam's passion for photography, for capturing the light and the dark, had, in the end, given us the tools we needed to expose David's darkness and find our own path toward justice. My life is no longer simple. The predictability is gone, but in its place is a new kind of strength, a resilience forged in fire. Sarah and I are closer than ever, bound by a shared past, and a future we built from the ashes of our grief. We visit the stone bridge often, and though Liam is no longer there with us, we feel his presence in the quiet moments, in the beauty of the light. Thank you for listening to our story. Have you ever had a secret change everything you thought you knew? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story compelling, please like this video and subscribe for more tales of secrets, betrayal, and revenge. Your support means the world.